Dan, we're still waiting to see these activists arrive in Ashdod, but as far as the public opinion, this has also been one of the main messages coming from these activists who live streamed the past 8-9 days of their journey towards the international water surrounding Gaza. How has this whole debacle been perceived? Because even with Israel handling this interception better than many people thought that might happen, how is the international media covering this, if at all?
I don't think it's been as big a sensation as it would have been had she landed, nor do I think there is any misunderstanding, really, among any thinking person that Israel had little choice but to intercept the yacht. I mean, to allow a bunch of celebrities to enter Gaza in the middle of a war zone and risk them being killed would have been irresponsible in the extreme. So I think Israel handled it rather well. It went off without a hitch. They were smart enough to say that the piddling amount of aid that they're bringing in, that which had not been consumed by the celebrities, would be sent to Gaza. I don't want to make light of this. The situation in Gaza is a genuine cataclysm for all sides, basically. And, you know, it's in a way a little sad. I mean, the causes that Greta Thunberg espouses are real causes. The people of Gaza, it's not an outrageous thing to be promoting. They really have a problem and they deserve help. The climate crisis is a real thing that deserves mitigation. And to have her, a clear publicity hound, with a very simplistic doctrine that she espouses, being the face of all this, does it all disservice. Does the world understand all this? Does the world, criticize Israel for intercepting the yacht? I honestly don't think so. So significant, I sense, is the understanding that Israel had little choice but to act as it did, that if the Israeli messaging machine were a little bit more sophisticated and not sadly indifferent to global opinion, they would have a prime time and very articulate spokesman explaining exactly what they did, manifesting great sympathy for the general cause of humanitarian aid to Gaza, and explaining that all the aid will go in and they were intercepted for their own safety as is right and just. And I think there would have been almost no context in which to criticize that, and it would have been to speak bluntly, a PR victory for Israel. But of course, that's not how they roll.
Well, and there is a legal precedent for this. Israel has intercepted other flotillas trying to bridge this naval blockade in years past. But as far as the security concerns, Yaakov, even the lessons that Israel has learned from intercepting some of these previous flotillas, prime example being 2010, the Mavi Marmara, this deadly incident, any security lessons and security different examples that they gained from this that you think that they took to intercepting this specific flotilla?
I think they gathered more information and were better prepared, but the two cases are very different because the Mavi Marmara incident was filled with violent activists who actually were armed and attacked Navy personnel. And here, the Navy knew ahead of time, the flotilla, the special naval forces that boarded this boat knew that these were unarmed political activists trying to make a point, and so they prepared accordingly. And I think that it was handled well. The foreign ministry's touch was visible here. It took over the tweeting of the social media side of things, showed Greta receiving a sandwich, as alluded to in this report.
A vegan pastrami sandwich also,
right.
Taking into account her dietary restrictions.
Right. Now the thing is, now it's easy to mock, and there is a she deserves it for making such a ridiculous self-serving publicity stunt. But this is the tail end, in my view, of a much bigger phenomenon in which far-left activists are teaming up with Islamists across Europe and in North America and turning this into a cause that is very shallowly presented, filled with incitement against Israel, ignoring the new humanitarian initiative that Israel has initiated, which has seen approximately 10 million meals distributed since it started to Gazan civilians. So all of these facts, which are actually very strategic and important, get swept aside, and we get stuck talking about, this yacht.
This red-green alliance is an actual problem for Israel internationally, and it is based, as I think we all agree, on one-sidedness and ignorance. If you listen to Greta talking about the situation in Gaza, if you look at the website, the very garish website that attaches to this yacht effort, They speak of Israel's genocide that began on October 7th without a mention of what happened on October 7th.
And now they will be getting a reminder of what happened
you would
on
have no
October
idea
7th, being shown the atrocities
absolutely.
of this by
They're
from
going to
the
be
foreign
shown a movie.
ministry.
You wouldn't even know that the Gazans actually need to be freed of the oppression of Hamas. They seem to be unaware of this.
Amichai Stein from our I24 News Hebrew channel, he spoke with IAEA Director Rafael Grossi about the threat of Iran's nuclear capabilities and how the IAEA can keep it in check. Here's part of that interview.
Well, what I'm telling them is that they should allow us to do what we want to do, so we can dispel all of these doubts. They assure me eloquently, and as you know, I am in a constant dialogue, especially with the foreign minister, Dr. Arakchi, whom I just saw in Cairo just a few days ago, that they have nothing to have. Well, if this is the case, then they should allow us to do our job and to get as much access as we can. So these affirmations, and I don't put them in doubt, I simply say, frankly speaking, conversation with the IAEA goes hand by hand with inspections. It's a heavy responsibility on our shoulders, which we assume with great responsibility, with a great sense of responsibility. But please do not believe that we are naive, because if we continue to engage, it is not because we ignore the fallacies, because we ignore the shortcomings in the answers that we are getting. It's simply because we are in this iterative process, we can demonstrate why these things are not correct and what needs to be shown and what needs to be seen.
Still with me in studio, Yaakov Lapin and Dan Perry. Dan, what do you make of what's happening at the IAEA meeting? Grossi says that there's no connection between this resolution on Iran's nuclear noncompliance and the nuclear talks between Washington and Tehran. Is this some sort of posturing from the IAEA? Are they truly trying to crack down on Iran, or does it make a difference?
Well, if the coming Iran agreement is to have wide public support, it has to rest on the idea that the IAEA is serious about inspections and verification, and there's no alternative. It has to be this organization that plays that role, by and large. So they're positioning themselves for this, and I have to think, given what I'm hearing, that they believe a deal might come. The main question is what was really going on between 2015, when Obama and the other powers signed the JCPOA, and 2018, when Trump walked away from it. The only logical argument for walking away from it, which I and many others thought was a terrible mistake, was that verification wasn't real, the inspectors were being blocked, and Iran was able to fool the IAEA. I want to hear them come out clearly and state, was that true or was it untrue? In the past, they kind of denied it, but not terribly convincingly. Verification is going to be the issue here, because Trump can't just reprise the old deal and claim it's better and expect serious people to believe it. There's going to have to be some visible improvement of the inspection regime and the verification mechanisms that would enable him to claim this is a better deal, and indeed that would enable all of us to sleep more soundly in our beds. He sounds extremely determined to play his role in good faith and with maximal determination to prevent Iran from enriching at a weaponizable level, and that's a piece in the puzzle. It's fairly reassuring. I'm still disappointed that the U.S. is not using its current position of leverage against Iran to demand more, like the disarming of Hezbollah, like an end to support for the Houthis and the crazy Shiite militias in Iraq, and more.